Hey, welcome back everyone. It's been a while since I've done a video like this. Well, it's finally time for me to take on Terraria's challenging mode for the worthy. I made a similar video, but that was only in classic mode. This time I'll be kicking it up a notch, so I'll be playing this on expert mode. I really hope you all will enjoy the video, and if you did, consider leaving a like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Thanks everyone, and enjoy. A new journey. And what better way to start off a new journey than to chop down some trees for wood. While chopping down some more trees, I remembered that instead of the guide starting off as the first NPC, the demolitionist spawned instead. I actually preferred him rather than the guide since his grenades deal much more damage than arrows. After collecting some wood, I traveled to the right and found a nearby cave. There was a chest and inside had a bunch of useful items. An aglet that improves movement speed, recall potions in case I need to teleport back home, and torches to explore deeper down inside caves. I also found climbing claws which will come in handy for stopping fall damage. As I traveled deeper down the cave, I found a pyramid. So there are 3 possible items that I can get: the flying carpet, sandstorm in a bottle, or the pharaoh's set. I was praying to get either the flying carpet or the sandstorm in a bottle because the vanity set would be completely useless. After reaching the treasure room, I opened the chest and got the sandstorm in a bottle. I actually prefer this item over the flying carpet. With this accessory, my mobility has improved, which will make dodging monsters and bosses much easier. Now I needed a better weapon, so I went to the desert, chopped down some cacti, and made myself a cactus sword. I wanted to kill the vultures to keep going right, but I accidentally jumped into one of them, which marked my first death. As it was turning to nighttime, I decided to build myself a little home to keep myself safe. I ended up using some of these sandstone bricks that I mined from the pyramid to use as building materials. Since it was nighttime, I decided to just begin mining towards hell. The surface was way too dangerous. I say that, but then a zombie fell on top of me and killed me. So I built some blocks around the hole to prevent anything else from falling down onto me. Down below, I found a trident, which was a really good upgrade from the cactus sword. It deals 5 more damage and I have increased mobility in water while holding it. Just a little deeper down, I found a spider nest with a chest that had the web slinger. A hook this early on into the game will be extremely useful. So my inventory was getting a little full, so back at home I made a designated chest room. Most of you guys know that I have very poor inventory management, so I'll try my best to keep it clean. Back in the spider nest, I found my very first life crystal. Before I fight any bosses though, I plan on getting to max health, which is 400. Taking damage from bosses at 100 health will for sure kill me in one hit, so getting to 400 health will at least let me tank a few more hits. I found another life crystal and the skeleton merchant. I purchased some Splunker glow sticks that reveal nearby ores and treasures, as well as the red counterweight just in case if I ever wanted to use yo-yos. Since I was in the jungle, I decided to explore a bit more. I was able to get the anklet of the wind. Now all I need are the Hermes boots and rocket boots to make lightning boots. After a long trip of mining, I had enough emeralds to make the emerald hook. I will lose out on the multiple hooks from the web slinger, but I prefer the longer reach that the emerald hook has. I upgraded my pickaxe to gold and then made the full tungsten armor set that boosted my defense to 19. Back underground, I found a dead man's chest. There were multiple traps linked to the chest, so I had to break them first before opening. Inside the chest was the lucky horseshoe that removes fall damage completely. This was one of the more useful accessories, especially in the early game since I had no wings. I could try to find some sky islands and hope that fledgling wings were in one of the chests, but I didn't have any gravitation potions. I decided to make another floor for my house, just so I have more room to place things. So I went back to the jungle and found some chests. I got gravitation potions now to finally go to Sky Islands, and I found a boomstick. A very good ranged weapon, however, I needed bullets. I leveled an area and started building some NPC houses to allow the arms dealer to move in. Next, I traveled to the corruption biome to break some shadow orbs. I received the musket and the Valthorn. I didn't really use the musket since the boomstick seemed like the better weapon. However, I will be using the Valthorn in my fight against the Eater of Worlds, once I get myself more mana. Afterwards, I went back to the jungle and found my last life crystal needed for max health, as well as some Hermes boots. Shortly after, the arms dealer had arrived. Now that I can use the boomstick, I'll be able to start taking down some bosses, starting with the King Slime. I built some platforms first just to maneuver around more easily and then began the boss fight. When I first saw it, I totally forgot just how big it was. It was twice, if not 3 times the original size. I also realized that the more damage it took, the faster it became, but thankfully I had my Hermes boots to outrun it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the King Slime out, and I had no more materials to make another summon, so that will have to wait until later on. Now it's time to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, but before that I wanted to go to some sky islands and open some chests, but they were locked. I could only open them after I defeat Skeletron, so I just summoned the Eye of Cthulhu instead. After defeating the Eye of Cthulhu, I opened the treasure bag and received the Shield of Cthulhu. This shield will be used throughout the entire playthrough since it's such a good item. It gives defense and the ability to dash while damaging enemies. I collected a lot of stars, so I decided to create some mana crystals to increase my max mana. Alright, now this part was probably the most annoying, which was trying to get the slime mount. I killed this boss over 7 times to finally get one. After running out of rubies to make the crown, I resorted to using slush and silt blocks on the extractinator. But hey, I gotta look at the bright side. At least I finally got one and don't have to grind anymore for it. Also, I had no clue how high I could go up combining the mount and the sandstorm in a bottle. It was crazy. So now I have the slime mount, which means I'll be able to jump on top of the Eater of Worlds without taking damage. However, just like the King Slime, its size took me by surprise. In an area like this, where it's super tight, it was nearly impossible to dodge it, so unfortunately I died. To fix this, all I had to do was fight it on top of the surface. Easy, right? But here's the thing, if the Eater of Worlds reaches the surface, it'll start spitting out Vile, so there's going to be a lot more dodging. But I just know for sure that I won't be able to defeat it underground, so I tried fighting it on top. I built some platforms and began the fight. After defeating the Eater of Worlds, a Goblin army arrived, which was exactly what I wanted. Once I defeat them, the Goblin Tinkerer can be found underground, and then I'll be able to start combining some of the accessories that I have. After the invasion ended, I crafted the Nightmare Pickaxe that will allow me to mine Hellstone, and the full Shadow Armor set that increases movement speed. After that, I went underground to find the Tinkerer, and it didn't take too long to find him. I purchased the Rocket Boots and the Workshop from him. I then combined the Hermes Boots and the Rocket Boots to make the Spectre Boots. And combining the Spectre Boots with the Anklet of the Wind and the Egglet, I then made the Lightning Boots. It's almost time to fight Skeletron, but before that, I mined the meteorite that fell from before. I then made an arena at the ocean since there was a lot more room to work with. I intend to summon Skeletron and then drag it all the way here. It was a bit awkward since the dungeon was buried underneath dirt, but with the King Slime Mount and Sandstorm in a bottle, I was able to get out of there pretty quickly. I was able to drag it all the way to the ocean, but I found out that the boomstick was getting a little bit outdated. I couldn't even take out its hands. I needed a better weapon, so with the meteorite that I mined earlier, I crafted the meteorite set and space gun. It was the next night, and right when I was about to summon Skeletron, there was a blood moon. I figured this event wouldn't affect me too much, so I started the fight anyways. But obviously, I made a mistake. There were too many monsters spawning, and they were really hard to see, so they damaged me quite a bit. So yeah, I failed once again. But guys, I promise, this will be the last time I die to this boss. There was nothing else to ruin this fight, no more excuses. I talked to the old man and told him not to worry anymore, for I will be the one to free him from his curse. After defeating Skeletron, I traveled down the dungeon and opened a few chests. I was looking for the Cobalt Shield, but unfortunately I couldn't find one. I did however find the Shadow Key. Whenever I reach Hell, I'll be able to open up some Shadow chests. I had some extra keys, so I drank a Gravitation Potion and headed towards some Sky Islands. I obtained the Shiny Red Balloon, which will make my jump even higher, Fledgling Wings, and the Star Fury. I really wanted the Cobalt Shield, so I went back to the dungeon. I found the Muramasa, and then a while after, I found the Cobalt Shield. I returned home and saw that all my NPC houses were full, so I built some more. My next goal is to kill the Wall of Flesh, so I finished mining down to Hell. I then started building a very long platform to fight the boss as preparation. While I was down here, I opened some shadow chests, but there was only one weapon that I was looking for, which was the Hellwing Bow, and luckily I found it. This bow turns wooden arrows into flaming bats, but the accuracy on this thing is extremely bad. but it won't matter at all when I take on the Wall of Flesh since the boss has 3 decently sized hitboxes. Oh, and one more thing that I noticed, all demons held a guide voodoo doll, so I have to be extra careful not to kill one near lava since it might summon the Wall of Flesh. Since I'll be using the Hellwing bow to fight the Wall of Flesh, I'll be needing some new armor. The meteorite set won't do anymore. So what better armor to boost range damage than the Necro armor set? You guys get it? Necro? That's me? Get it? Get it? Get it? Okay, never mind. Back down in Hell, I drank an obsidian skin potion to negate lava damage. This will make mining Hellstone a lot more efficient. With the Hellstone bars, I made the Molten Pickaxe, Ham Axe, and the Imp Staff. I then got extremely lucky while reforging my Hellwing bow. The very first reforge, I got the Unreal modifier, and that seemed unreal. It's now time to take on the Wall of Flesh. I drank all of my potions and threw the voodoo doll into the lava. The Wall of Flesh has been defeated, and now we are in hard mode. Things are going to get much harder. I opened the treasure bag and received the clockwork assault rifle that goes perfectly with my armor set, the bone hammer for breaking demon altars, the summoner emblem which is kinda useless right now but later on I can turn it into something more useful, and lastly the demon heart that adds one more accessory slot. Since I'm in hard mode now, I'm gonna need some better armor just so I don't get 2-shot by regular monsters. I broke some demon altars to spawn cobalt, mithril, and titanium into the world. I mined cobalt to make the cobalt pickaxe and then mined some mithril to make the mithril pickaxe. I didn't want to make the cobalt or mithril armor set since it was just going to get replaced almost immediately. Now with the mithril pickaxe, I mined a ton of titanium. The titanium armor set will be used to fight against the 3 mechanical bosses. After returning home, the traveling merchant arrived. I went to take a look at what he was selling and I couldn't believe my eyes. He was selling the orange Zappinator which has 100 magic damage. This weapon is very special. It has a whole bunch of random attack patterns. The effect that I love the most is the multiply damage by 10. If I were to crit with this weapon, it has the chance to deal 2000 plus damage. I made the mana flower that replenishes my mana automatically once it runs out, so now I can focus more on aiming. I then made the full titanium armor set, which boosted my orange Zappinator to 150 damage, so now it has the chance to hit 3000 damage. I'm basically all prepared now, so it's time to farm the materials needed to craft the mechanical boss summons. While I was gathering souls of light, a black recluse dropped a mythical poison staff, the best modifier for magic weapons. It shoots out 3 projectiles, so if all 3 hit, it'll deal some pretty decent damage. After collecting enough souls of light, I went to the underground corruption to gather souls of night. But I was interrupted by a message. The air is getting colder around you. This meant that Skeletron Prime will soon spawn. I teleported back home and prepared myself. Without any wings, it'll be quite hard to beat this boss, so instead I drank a gravitation potion. For this boss fight, I remembered that its bombs will explode blocks, so I made sure to drag it far away from my house. This boss has quite a bit of health, so I prayed for as many shots that had multiplied damage. After defeating Skeletron Prime, I opened the treasure bag and received some hollowed bars and Souls of Fright. Once I defeat the other two bosses, I will be replacing my titanium armor with the hollowed set, since it gives time of invulnerability. Before I fight the other two mechanical bosses, I needed wings, so I killed some wyverns for their Souls of Flight. After collecting enough souls and feathers, I crafted the demon wings. Next up are the twins. The fight was going well and all, but I did something quite embarrassing. Since I had some more gravitation potions, I didn't need my wings, so I had it in my vanity slot, which meant that I'm still able to take fall damage. So during the fight, I kinda went a bit too close to the surface and died. I know for a fact that I'll be able to beat them next time, so I summoned them once more. After defeating the twins, it was now time for the last mechanical boss, the Destroyer. This boss had 180,000 health, which was an insane amount, but my orange Sapinator did work. Since the projectiles could pass through multiple parts of the boss, whenever I did multiplied damage, it would deal a crazy amount. Plus, whenever I got hit, stars would fall down dealing even more damage, thanks to my star cloak. With the defeat of the destroyer, I now have enough hollowed bars to craft the hollowed armor. I also made the pickaxe axe that is strong enough to mine chlorophyte. The jungle now grows restless, which meant that the Plantera bulbs will start spawning. Before I fight her though, I mined some chlorophyte just in case if I need it later on. Once I had enough chlorophyte, I used some of it to upgrade my poison staff to the venom staff. This weapon is able to shoot 4 to 7 projectiles that inflict the acid venom debuff. This debuff deals 15 damage over time. It lasts for 30 seconds, and at the end of the debuff, it would have done a total of 900 damage. Afterwards, I purchased some dynamite to blow up an area to fight Plantera in. After finishing the arena, I built a house for the nurse to move in. I wanted to guarantee the win. If I failed, I'd have to look for the Plantera bulb again and build another arena, which would take a very long time. Everything is now ready. I destroyed the bulb to summon Plantera. Plantera has been defeated. From the bag, I received the Seedler. It was a melee weapon, but every swing shoots out a seed that explodes into fragments that deal damage all around. It was time to transition over to the melee class. The next set of armor to get is the turtle armor. I already farmed 2 turtle shells from before, so I just need 1 more. I went back to the jungle to get the last one. Once I equipped the armor, my defense shot up from 60 to 94, a 34 defense increase. So since I'll be going the melee class, there's an accessory that I want to make, the fire gauntlet. So I went to the jungle to find the feral claws. This accessory grants 12% damage, 12% attack speed, auto swing for all melee weapons, 10% size, 100% knockback, plus it grants the on fire debuff whenever I damage monsters. I combined the feral claws with the titan glove to create the power glove. I then turned the summoner emblem that I got after killing the wall of flesh into the avenger emblem. With the power glove and the emblem, I made the mechanical glove. Now I just need the magma stone to create the fire gauntlet. So I made a visit to hell again and killed some hellbats and lava bats to get it. It was now time to fight the queen slime. I found the gelatin crystal from before, so I headed over to the hollow biome to summon her. After defeating her for the very first time, I got my hands on the Queen Slime Mount. It's basically like the King Slime Mount, except it has wings. So technically I don't need my demon wings anymore and I can just replace it with something else. This mount will also be extremely useful since the mobility on this thing is crazy good and it'll make dodging attacks much easier. It's now time to explore the temple. When I first saw it, it was all green and it seemed a lot darker inside than usual. I really had to be careful since monsters in here can deal over 250 damage per hit. They can basically kill me in 2 hits. Inside these chests contain 1 power cell, and each power cell is able to summon Golem, the boss that I'll be fighting next. After opening all the chests, I ended up with 12 power cells, so I have 12 attempts to defeat the boss. It was time to fight the boss. I used a power cell to summon Golem. This was actually one of the few bosses that had its size decreased, making it much harder to land hits. Golem's fists shot out much faster, and after breaking both its hands, its speed increased dramatically. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to beat it this time. My second attempt went a lot better. I damaged it until it had 1 more hit, but I just wasn't able to finish it off. I think the reason why I was able to get that far was because of the Queen Slime Mount, so I used it again. After defeating Golem, I fought it again 2 more times. I wanted enough beetle husk to craft the beetle armor, which will be my very last armor set that I use until I fight Moonlord. Alright, it's time to make a better weapon. I'm not saying that the Seedler is a bad weapon, but it definitely won't do the job against Moonlord. The Terra Blade will be the next weapon I make. I started the Solar Eclipse to kill Mothrons for the Broken Hero Sword. After getting one, I made the Excalibur and then combined it with some Chlorophyte bars to make the true Excalibur. Then I went to a Demon Altar to make the Knight's Edge. With the Knight's Edge and the souls from the 3 mechanical bosses, I crafted the true Knight's Edge. With all 3 swords, I then crafted the Terra Blade that came with the legendary modifier. I couldn't believe it, my luck just saved me many platinum coins from going down the drain. Afterwards, I upgraded the turtle armor to beetle armor. I chose to go with the beetle scale mail instead of the beetle shell. I just preferred more damage and melee speed. Also, whenever I deal damage, it'll spawn beetles that hover around me. Each beetle increases my damage by 10% with a maximum of up to 3 beetles, which is 30%. Before I fight the Lunatic cultist, I farmed enough life roots in the jungle to max out my health to 500. I wouldn't usually do this, but come on. I'm playing for the worthy plus expert mode. This was necessary. I am all prepared now. I went over to the dungeon, killed the 4 cultists performing the ritual to summon the Lunatic cultist. Once he was defeated, celestial creatures are now invading. 4 pillars also spawned: the Solar, Stardust, Vortex, and Nebula. I decided to destroy the Nebula first since it was the most annoying in my opinion. Then the Solar. After the Solar pillar was broken, I used some of the fragments that dropped to craft the Daybreak and Solar Eruption. These weapons will be very crucial for the last boss, especially the Daybreak. It is a throwable spear weapon that can stick onto enemies. Each spear that sticks onto enemies will deal 25 damage per quarter second. 8 spears are able to stick onto one enemy for 200 damage per quarter second, which equals to 800 damage per second. I then went on to destroy the Vortex pillar, and then finally the Stardust pillar. Before Moonlord appears, I quickly crafted the Stardust Dragon Staff for some extra bit of damage. I then waited and waited for the final boss Moonlord to appear. Hold it. You guys thought this was the end of the video, right? Well, there's just a bit more to do. After opening the treasure bag, I received the Meow Mirror, which I used to kill the Moonlord once more to get enough Lunatic bars. I then had to kill the Lunatic cultist once more, and then the Solar Pillar to gather more solar fragments. Once I had collected everything I needed, I made the final armor set for the melee class, the Solar Flare armor. I can't end this video off without looking cool, guys, come on now. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I really hope you all enjoyed it. A lot of time and effort was put into this video, so I would appreciate it if you guys could drop a like, comment down below on what you thought of the video, and also subscribe to the channel. What a journey, but you know what they say, the end of a journey is the beginning of the next. Stay tuned for the next one guys. Peace.